Hi guys, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're talking about our new moon coming up in the sign of Gemini, and this is coming up on June 14th. And that's at 10:54 p.m., 24 degrees, 3 minutes of Gemini. So the new moon's ruler is Mercury, and Mercury just entered the sign of Cancer on June 1st. And by the time the new moon, it will be actually beginning its pre-shadow phase, and that it starts on the 12th, and that's at 16 degrees of Cancer. So preparing to go retrograde at the end of the month on the 29th, where it's going to go at 26 degrees Cancer, go back to 16, and so it's going to spend really most of the summer in the sign of Cancer, really until August 9th. Mercury will also be in an elusive sextile to Mars within 2 degrees, but never quite catches up. Now we're going to go and do a full video coming up on that Mercury retrograde, so you want to hit that notification bell and stay tuned for that. That's coming up in just a couple weeks. So the concern with this, the ruler where it is going retrograde, is communication and agreements will be off, and especially with this conjunction or the sextile to Mars, it's never going to quite catch up. So it's going to be like things just aren't meeting, things just aren't jiving communication wise. There's going to be an inability to make decisions or to even compromise, maybe even to make a peace deal, if you know what I mean, what's going on in the US and what we talked about in the video that I just put out, kind of a prediction about certain president's birth chart being pretty much exact as, hitting exact with this new moon. So, as discussed in that full moon, in that Sagittarius full moon video as well, the decisions or discussions are really critical at this time. So if there is a peace deal being made, if it's made in haste, it may not feel right. So it might, but you're going to be stuck with that decision. So remember in that video we talked about, whatever decisions you make, it is the way it is. It's that jumping off point. So, there's no turning back. Okay, so Pickle decides to walk right there. So if you guys do watch my videos, there's always at least one of the cats and Chili in them. Chili always comes with me. So, and Pickle's the outdoor cat. So he likes to come with me for all my outdoor videos. Bean stays for the indoor ones. So anyway, so like I said, if there are peace deals or if there are decisions that you made, you're kind of stuck with them now. So now we're growing with those ramifications of those decisions that we made, maybe even those peace deals, if they are going to be made by the time this comes out. So I'm making this video, it's a little bit early. It's the 3rd of June, so we still got a while to go. So who knows what's going to happen within this time frame. So, and I also said this because I talked about the lunar phase and how it plays out in the president's chart. I'm going to link that above. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check that out, because it was pretty interesting. But I really hope that there is a peace deal being made soon. I hate to see the troops out there, putting themselves in danger. I hate to see the gas prices, that's for sure. But, so we're just going to hope for the best. This chart for this new moon is in what you call a bowl formation. So the energy is concentrated on one hemisphere of the chart. So really only on one side. I ran this chart for the US Capitol, so DC, which puts the ascendant actually on 0 degrees of Aquarius. So that is, Aquarius is the people, power to the people. And this is a very new energy, new start fresh, new beginnings. And I find that interesting too, because we're going through these the preliminary elections or primary elections, So it's kind of like, okay, you voted for who you voted for, you made your decision, now you have to live with it. But it's really starting new. So if we see a lot of upsets, it could be because of that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some things that were a little bit surprising, results wise. They're already starting to filter out a little bit. So the planets are concentrated in what's called the northern hemisphere. So if you're looking at the chart, it would be actually at the bottom of the chart. So this could show, say for the USA as a collective, developments on the home front, really building security and a drive for diplomacy. So wanting to make those agreements, which is great, but wanting to really also find that diplomacy on the home front. So not just, this is all concentrated, like I said, on that bottom of the chart. So the top of the chart is more that external. This is internal. So this is going to be kind of finding that diplomacy within ourselves, within this country. Not so much as, that being put out there with the social visibility that we've seen. And I wonder if at least for a little while, maybe the protests and, these highly visible endorsements of, political parties and all that is going to subside. Now the primary's over. Hopefully it will. I'm just bored with all of it. It's just exhausting. So especially now that they're over, and so I think everything's going to be a little more internal. So now we have to figure things out from within. But what's interesting is we begin our waxing phase with the ramifications of these elections, like we talked about. Remember, there's no going back. So now this new moon, we are growing, we're waxing with that, that past chapter is now closed, but it's still having an effect on the story going forward. So a new moon in Gemini wants to open up the doors to communication. And we can really tie all that together with that diplomacy that we see in that bull chart. Venus, though every planet is underneath, the horizon line, Venus is 1 degree over in the 7th house. So she wants to find peace. She is that one that's that negotiator. She wants fairness, peace, negotiation. And she's in Leo, so it's going to stand out as that peacemaker. So something is going to stand out, I feel, in this chart as to create some kind of harmony going forward, or somebody, or, but that I see is, with that Venus standout, that there is going to be, hopefully, I'm hoping that it's with this peace treaty, but we'll see anyway. So Gemini new moon is also, it urges us to adapt to changes going on around us. Gemini is a mutable sign, it's very adaptable, learning everything you can about, and integrating these new things into our lives, exploring this new technology that's coming out, listen to and absorb the information and figure out, how can I use this to my benefit? How can this benefit me? Adapting and thinking, the way we think, the way we understand, and the way we communicate information, and to stop just assuming what we learned in the past is really the only reality. And I think we are really starting to see that with this disclosure of all these different files coming out with the Epstein files. I think they released more stuff with that. And of course, the alien files, that's a big one. And I think that's going to be some of the most shocking. Also, things about COVID, past COVID, things. So a lot of things being disclosed. It's kind of like the age of disclosure, kind of like that movie that's going to be coming out, or I think there already is one, and then I think Spielberg's making another one that's supposed to be coming out. So really like to check those out and see what that's all about. So remember, so this is really, though, to explore this new, it's perfect time for a mental rehab. So now things are a little bit calmed down. Like I said, if we're going to be working on these peace treaties and kind of even just within our relationships, kind of finding peace and a little bit of harmony, it's a perfect time for a mental rehab. So to totally reinvigorate your mind and just get it excited. Take like this calm before the storm, before we enter into July, which promised to be, very active. There's lots of stuff going on in July. Could even be a chaotic month coming up. So we want to take this kind of more relaxed June, and my dog is just going crazy right now. That's her in the background. So we want to take this relaxed June and just take it in and use this time to just take a breath and recheck our minds, especially with that Mercury retrograde coming up as well. It's not till the end of the month, but that's going to be through July. But I think that that's what's really going to be bringing a lot of this stuff up from the past and exposing it also. So, Mercury likes to do that kind of stuff. So remember, the ruler is of Mercury. It is actually in a sextile to Mars in Taurus. It's in that building sextile, like I talked about, the one that never quite fits. But this can really urge us and push us to be more empathetic. With Mercury in Cancer, we want to think a little more empathetically. We want to be a little more understanding in others. And I think with this Cancer, we do have that shell on us that protects us, but you also want to do the same when you're listening to somebody else. Don't take things out on the other person. So you know that they have that protective shell up, and that's what is causing a lot of these outbursts. And, because people are very much affected personally by what's going on. I'll get into why that's kind of been on the rise lately. But so we kind of have to start kind of breaking down that shell. So it's not just about us as an I, it's about us as a we. So just really about building those bridges and finding peace, taking assertive action, delving into that unfamiliar territory, and taking in really all the knowledge you can, and and just learning everything you can about what is going on with these new technologies, with the information being exposed. So one really big aspect I wanted to talk about was Uranus in a square to the node. So what that means, it's also said to be, when a planet is square to the nodes, it's said to be at the bendings. And this is a time of crisis or urgency. Something is in need of attention, and you have to tend to this matter. So this comes as the nodes are closing in on changing signs. So they're moving into Aquarius. So we'll get deep into a nodal change with a future video coming up too. That's not till next month. All right, Pix, please don't mess with the camera. Okay, so you did anyway. So, all right, I think I got that fixed. Oh God. So for now, we're just going to focus on this Uranus it's called the north bending because of where it falls on the chart. So it's facing this crisis that we have. The aspect was closest to exact on the 12th. So that is the same day that Mercury starts its pre-retrograde shadow period. And there's so much around really just that disclosure of information, digging up the past. So I think a lot of this month is just kind of gonna be a preparation for that, getting prepared for what kind of chaos this information could bring. So when a planet is at the north bendings, it means it requires, like I said, immediate attention to this topic, to get to work in order to achieve what you are destined for. This is moving towards that north node. So it's moving towards your destiny. And, this can be personal, as with this one, looking at the chart that I ran, it could be collective as a nation, here in the US, especially with that, the ascendant on that 0 degree really shows that newness, showing those new starts and new beginnings, and just starting over again fresh. And I think that we really, really need that at this time, because things have been just so stressful, polarizing, volatile, so much. So something though, on a more personal scale, with Uranus can potentially be chaotic. So it is pushing these new innovations, but Uranus can be unpredictable. That's what Uranus does. And something is going to really force you to accommodate these innovations and changes and information, and shocking or scary as it may be, into your life, and just really to integrate it and to kind of change and go with the flow. Again, want to be with like that mutable sign and grow and learn and be able to adapt. So another thing to be aware of, another big aspect, or not aspect, but placement, to be aware of is Chiron, which now sits it's going to be sitting at the 29th degree of Aries, where it's been in Aries since 2018, 2019. So let's think of what's been going on since then. So before that, we didn't see the crazy like riots and all this stuff going on. It's just been like, again, really volatile picks. It really just, me, how can I, this is affecting me. And, now as it readies to move into Taurus, we face that critical point. That 29th degree is that critical point. It's that kind of desperation. So we have been so focused on the I and the me aspect of this, and why this bothers me, which has really been, in general, I would say like a narcissistic way of being for this past, like, what has it been like now, 8 years that it's been, everything's been kind of focused on, not what's good for the collective, but what's good for, me, my ideas, my party, my this. So this kind of narcissism, I think, is going to go away, because again, we are in desperate need of healing, to gain compassion, and we need to build a better foundation. And here's what Taurus is going to help us with. For this, we need to help us grow as a humanity, because right now we're just completely unstable. We don't have a good foundation. It's a very rocky, it's a very unstable foundation. You don't know when something's going to blow. No matter where you live, there seems to be just that agitation where you don't know if there's going to be another shooting, if there's going to be another riot, if there's going to be another who knows what, somebody crazy doing something crazy. Because mental instability has been a really big topic throughout this time, and kind of like letting things go because of people being mentally unstable, like homeless, and like that we see these stabbings on trains. I think another one just happened yesterday in front of the girl's mother, and somebody stabbed a girl like 20 times, mother screaming for help, and they just ignored it. And I think the girl ended up dying, and it's just awful. And all because these people are let out of prison, or they're not put in prison because of this mental instability. And it really just drives people to do some really horrible things, killing people because they don't like, they don't think the same way. Look at what happened to like Charlie Kirk, or that the United Healthcare person there. So you start looking at who we are as people, and want to really just get back to the basics. It's not about what we have, it's about what we need, and really just those basic needs, those really, needs on the low basic level. We talked about this as well in the Taurus new moon video, and I'll link that above too if you haven't checked that out, because we're kind of coming full circle as we now get to this new moon in Gemini. So you want to check that out and just kind of see how things progressed compared to what we said. So like I said, these polarizing viewpoints that we have are like, it's like poison, and you're fed this information that just gets you more and more angry, or depending on what station you're watching, or what podcast you're listening to, you're just fed the information that they want to give you so that they can make you more and more angry, and that people will act out in this way. All these saying things that about, just because people are of a different political party, the things that people are saying about them causes people to say, like, I need to be the savior, I need to do this, I need to fix this. And it's just really something that just needs to be calmed down. So we need to find that peace, that bridge, and building those bridges. So that is what that Mercury and sextile to Mars is going to help with. It's going to be a little bit slow, and it's not going to ever be full anytime soon, because we're going to be going through this stuff for a while. It's not going to be over anytime soon, but this transition takes a long time. You know, changes can happen abrupt, but transitions take a longer time to happen. So as Taurus, or as Chiron moves into Taurus, we need to really drop the self-pity also, I think, you know, and develop appreciation of what the earth has to offer and not what you buy. And you want to just focus on what is natural and what, you know, that's why I love to come out here and do these videos, because it's just more natural. The light is just, you know, filtered however it comes through the trees, and I don't pick how it is. It's just, that's the way it is. And I think it's just so beautiful. And this is why I have my earth magic side of my channel. And this, it's like with the Wiccan, pagan, Gentile, whatever you wish to call it, it's very important to me in my life. So getting back to the basics, back to the earth and what the earth has to offer is so rewarding to me. So, you know, if you're interested, I'm going to, if you're interested in learning more, I'll link the, what do you call it? The playlist up here, so you can check it out, you know, maybe see what you think. But I hope that you maybe give it a little shot, because it's not evil. It's just worshiping what is in nature, and worshiping what, and if you're a religious person, it's worshiping what God created for us on this earth. So it's really not being anti-Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or whatever you believe. It's really just kind of appreciating what has been given to us, like those gifts that have been given to us, you know, even before we start creating things like AI and computers and all these social media, which is so toxic. This just kind of brings us back to what is those primal needs. So, and you know, you can use what nature provides to heal. And you see this in herbs and stones, elements of the earth. And one of my past videos, I showed there is this quartz crystal stone that is sitting up on top of a stump. Now, this is way behind my house. We have about, I would say 20 acres or so, or probably more than that, probably closer to like 50 acres behind our house that's not a part of the state park. So this is kind of where me and the pets come to do these videos. So it's just illogical that this would ever really be there, because nobody ever comes here except really me. Before me, it was an old lady that lived at my house, and really we're like one of very few people on the street. So I like to go over to that stone, get a little bit insight with that crystal that's just sitting there and just reflecting the sun from above. I actually have a great video that I'm going to add to my midsummer video coming up. So definitely want to check that out if you're interested in any of the earth magic side of my channel. And it's really just a cool video. So definitely stay tuned for that, and definitely subscribe so you can see that. So again, all use to heal yourself with that Chiron. You can use stones, you can use herbs, you can use, you know, make little tinctures, and the elements of the earth, you know, fire, water, air, and earth, and use all those natural gifts that we are given. And you don't need to buy anything. You know, I know a lot of people go to the store and buy stones, but a lot of these stones you can just find. Anyway, so you see how these two critical points, Uranus at the bendings and Chiron at that 29th degree, really just kind of make this a catalyst, a time, a peak time, a catalyst time, a time that we must heal, that we must release that hate, and we must change the way our mentality is, and develop that compassion for our fellow man, no matter what they think. Back before, when I was younger, and you barely even remember this, and things weren't like this. If I didn't like, if I voted for this way, people didn't hate me for it, and most of the time, no one even cared who you voted for. And I was watching this thing about Jerry Springer the other day, the Jerry Springer show, and how it was just such a time where aggression and yelling nasty things at people was such a big part of society, and all the shows were going this way, and they were confronting and they were getting in fights, and people loved watching it. Ever since then, there's been so many shows about these bad relationships. You see it on, in some of my favorite shows, Housewives, 90 Day Fiance. People want to tune in to see these train wrecks. They want to tune in to see these fights. And it never used to be like that. Those talk shows back in the day were all very positive. And now you watch, say, The View, which is a talk show. When that first started, it was very positive. They just talked about, things, and they didn't attack each other. They didn't attack. Now it's just attack, 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 attack. If you think like this, we're going to attack you. And it's just like, I can't even stand watching it. It's like, this is exhausting. So, like I said, this is what needs to change. And hopefully we're going to build this compassion, especially with, building that new foundation when Chiron moves into Taurus, that foundation for healing as a nation, as a people, as a society, as a whole planet. So we're at that point right now of no return, and it's impossible to ignore this downturn of humanity. So if we don't stop the way we're going, things are just going to get worse and worse and worse. So the Sag full moon that we just had, I'll link that up here as well, invited us to have faith in ourselves, and that we have faith that we can do better as humanity. Have faith that you can be a better person. You don't have to follow the crowd. Lead the crowd. Be that Venus in Leo. Be that one going over the horizon. Be that leader. Be that person that is going to, be positive and not so negative. And don't be afraid to just kind of put out that olive branch, no matter what people think about you. Just do it. And just, it's all going to just be a snowball effect after a while, when people keep doing it, when people keep doing these positive things, reaching between the lines, reaching over the lines, and just taking somebody by the hand and saying, I understand you and I respect you. Our opinions might be different, but I don't hate you. It's so different from how it is now. So a couple of final aspects I wanted to point out is that Venus in Leo. It will be sextile to the Uranus on the day of the new moon. So at that bending. So like I said, be that Venus. Be that Venus above the horizon and be that leader. This can also bring, though, unexpected turns into our relationships, also due to this instability that we have, because things are very unstable and people are unstable and people are so easy to fly off the handle. But these ideologies, I feel, are going to be changing. Some people might not be ready for it. So if it does cause some strife in your relationships, maybe you're ready, but your partner's not, or vice versa. But in a sextile, it can really bring some positive changes. Those maybe give ultimatums. I know people don't like giving ultimatums, but perhaps this will spark some change for the better in our relationships. Maybe it's even an ultimatum of just like, I need something more. I don't want to keep fighting with you. I want to have more peace. This can be with your friends. This is very Venusian. So it could be, I can't have this toxic friend in my life anymore. We either need to talk to them and have them understand what they're doing, or we have to cut them out of our lives. So it's breaking free also from those old patterns, those old toxic patterns. For example, here's another example that I was thinking of today. Because you can't get away from this stuff. So if you normally love just stirring shit up online, if you're one of those people that loves just being a troll and saying nasty things or posting nasty things, maybe you'll finally get pushback from somebody that kind of makes you cut the shit, you don't have to be mean to people. Venus and Leo, be that standout in a way that expresses the positive, not the negative. Stop the political bullshit. Stop the body shaming. You know, oh, I really like, oh, these people are on Ozempic and they talk shit about them, but then they're talking shit about this one singer, I can't remember her name, who isn't on Ozempic. She's more a heavy set singer, and they're saying, oh, well, she hasn't heard of Ozempic. It's like, what the heck is wrong with you? You know, so people just love to be mean, and this is whatever the shaming and this meanness that you just like hide behind your computers and be mean. It just needs to stop. You need to develop that, you know, compassion. So be adaptable to the changes in society. Don't be so critical of them. Now you can, you know, use those technologies, those innovations, and for good, to do good things with them. You know, if you do need Ozempic, or maybe you don't, maybe you're like, I'm happy the way I am. It's not anyone else's business. So for them to just, people just to trash other people for no reason, even, you know, YouTube videos, you see it all the time. People just love trashing people. I've mostly been getting some positive, so I'll get to that at the end. So hopefully it'll stay that way. And lastly, I want to point out the Neptune and Pluto and how they are closing in on their sextile to each other. And this dance that they're in becomes exact on July 25th. So this is what I'm saying. This is building up. June is kind of that lull and build up to July. This will be just days after. So July 25th, when that sextile is going to be days after Uranus makes its exact sextile to Neptune and on the 15th, and then its exact trine to Pluto on the 18th. So exciting, hopefully positives in July because of these outer planet aspects, but I think this is more what we're moving towards. So I think there's going to be a lot of chaos and, oh, geez, and picks. Oh, monster. So, you know, heal and, you know, so exciting, hopefully positives in July, like I said, as we build closer and closer to these aspects. Again, it's not going to happen for a while. These are outer planets. This is slow moving. So it's a slow build as we get to that point. We're going to have to go through a lot more shit, I think, before we get to the positives. So as we begin our journey to transform as a people, to heal and be awakened to the possibility to dissolve all the rhetoric, all the hate, to build back as a better unified nation and even world that we live in. And now how fitting would that be really as we begin here in the United States, our next quarter millennia as a nation together. So just kind of think positive. Maybe this next millennia is going to be even bigger and better, and we're going to become a more positive, happier society. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe. I appreciate every view, every time you guys like, every new subscriber. It really helps boost the channel, and I appreciate every single one of you. And don't forget, hit that bell for notifications because we have a lot of fun stuff coming up. We have fun stuff from the astrology side and our earth magic side. We have midsummer coming up, so that's going to be a really fun one. It's one of my favorite of the Sabbats on the Wheel of the Year. So also please comment. I love to hear from you guys. Many comments. Okay, my pets just totally took off. Anyway, so many comments about you have been about that little orange monster that keeps hitting the camera. I love that. So, you know, it really, this cat is just my life. And so is my Chili, my dog, and my other cat at home. My pets are just, I live for them. They are so just loving, and especially, you know, with Pickle, coming into the woods with me, coming on hikes, he never lets me out of his sight, and he'll cry and cry and cry until I actually, you know, till I let him catch up to me. So I'd love to hear your comments about that, but comment about anything. But if you have comments about the pets, love to hear them. They're actually my favorite comments, I have to say. So anyway, you know, the pets, they really just help me through a lot of really, really tough times in my life. So I really thank you for acknowledging him. So now let's go ahead with peace in our minds and positive in our words, love in our hearts, and the ability to really just have faith in ourselves. And I will see y'all soon. Bye.